You've never had potato chips like this. These are not fried, require no oil, and they are incredibly crispy. This is for the millions of people that have asked me to make things without oil, and I randomly just saw this recipe on a channel called Table Diary, and I personally wanted to try them because Monica and I love snacks, so why not show you? So here we go. But first, I wanted to make a dip. If you've ever had hell of a good dip, then you know what I'm going to try to make here, except dairy-free. And since these chips are somewhat healthy, I wanted to kind of try to do the same. So I'm going to be making them out of tofu, making them kind of protein heavy. Now, I also received the gelatin gum that I ordered for my pate video, and I wanted to figure out a good use for it since I have it. So this is a test to see if we can come up with a very smooth dip using this. So we're going to start with a half a block of firm tofu, cubed and tossed into a pot of salted water over a high heat. Then chop half of a yellow onion, add it to the water, and bring to a boil. Then we're just going to let that go for about 15 minutes while we prep the rest of the ingredients in the blender. So once that's done, I'm just going to add a quarter cup of the hot water to a blender along with the tofu, onion, start the blender, and then we're going to add the rest of the ingredients. And a teaspoon onion powder, teaspoon garlic powder, pinch of salt, quarter teaspoon MSG, half teaspoon lactic acid, and 1 tablespoon parsley. I'm going to blend that to mix. Now, I wish I would have added a full teaspoon of lactic acid and maybe more than a pinch of salt and probably about an actual extra tablespoon of parsley, but I didn't know that yet. We'll find that out later. Now, once it's well mixed, I'm going to add in a half teaspoon of the gelatin gum and a quarter teaspoon of xanthan gum that I weighed out earlier. I'm going to continue the blend for about a minute so that way it mixes together and heats up the gums, and then it should get pretty smooth at this point. Now I'm just going to add this to a glass container. I'm going to cover it with a little bit of parchment paper so that way it doesn't form a skin, and toss it into the refrigerator. Okay, so to get started on these chips, this is how I make thumbnails, by the way. We just need 1 potato, peeled and weighed. The recipe calls for 200 grams of potato, so I'm going to do just that. Then I'm just going to cube them up, toss them into a pan, add water, and bring it to a boil, and let them boil until they're fork tender, about 12 minutes, which is plenty of time for today's sponsor.
So I love to learn new things, and one thing I have never mastered is a second language. And I've lived in Florida for almost 20 years, and there's a lot of Spanish speakers I would like to communicate easier with. So that's why I checked out Babbel. Babbel is one of the top language learning apps in the world, and is scientifically proven to help you start speaking a new language in 3 weeks. I mean, check this out. Mi amo Mark. ¿Dónde está el baño? Taco vegano, por favor? I've been talking about taking Monica out for dinner and ordering in Spanish. I thought that'd be kind of fun, and I think I'm ready to do it. I mean, we recently went to Mexico, and it would have been so nice to know some basic Spanish at least. It would have made a big difference. But now I'm pretty excited to go back. Their lessons prepare you to have practical conversations about travel, business, relationships, and more. Babbel has a few different subscriptions to choose from, including a lifetime subscription. And they offer a 20-day money-back guarantee. So gang, click the link to get 60% off your subscription to Babbel. Let me know in the comments what language you are going to learn and why. Babbel, gracias. Thanks for sponsoring today's video and for making such a cool app that teaches language in such a fun and useful way.
Okay, we're back. So this recipe is pretty specific on weights, but I think you could really substitute any veg here for the onion and it would work just fine. I'm going to weigh out 100 grams of onion, which is a little less than half of this yellow onion. And they used 50 grams of tapioca starch and had an option to substitute for cornstarch, but we're going to stick with the tapioca. We're also going to use about 2 grams baking powder and a little salt. I also have 50 milliliters of water set aside. Now, once the potatoes are done boiling, fork tender, I'm going to toss them into a blender with the onion and water and get the blending. This was a little tricky at first, so I had to keep pulsing and scraping the sides until we had kind of a good consistency and the blender was able to take over. I'm just going to blend this until it's incredibly smooth and then transfer it into a large bowl. At this point, I'm just going to add in the tapioca starch, baking powder, salt, and mix. Now, once this is mixed, I'm going to pour it into a piping bag and then attempt to preheat my oven to 275 degrees Fahrenheit. But unfortunately, I have a Samsung oven that's about 3 years old. Seems to be about the lifespan of their appliances. The 2 through 6 buttons on my stove suddenly stopped working. So I'm just going to do my best to regulate the temperature, and I'm going to shift from 350 degrees, which those buttons work, to 199 degrees, and see if I can keep it kind of even. Now, with a parchment paper lined baking sheet, I'm going to pipe on 12 quarter-sized dollops, cover with a second sheet of parchment paper, and then use a glass, something flat bottom, to press these flat. Now, I'm going to do 2 sheets, toss them into the oven, see how they come out, and then we're going to have some fun with flavors. These need to bake for about 12 to 15 minutes, but I'm just going to keep watching them until they turn brown and it looks like they get a little crispy. Now, these look pretty good. I'm going to scrape them off the parchment paper, set them aside. They seem like they're pretty pretty good, but I want to play with the flavors. Now these are already onion flavored, but I thought maybe we could make them like onion and herb. So I'm going to toss on a little bit of garlic powder and parsley flakes. Press them down and try to bake these. For our third flavor, I'm going to toss on a little bit of nutritional yeast and some mushroom powder. I thought that might be kind of an interesting flavor. Press those down and then toss those in the oven. Now they all came out pretty good, but I did press my nutritional yeast ones like way too flat, so they ended up not working out the best. But all in all, I think they all came out pretty good. I'm pretty excited to see what Monica has to say about the chips, and we can't forget that dip.
Dude, you kind of have to cut into it.
Yeah, I needed to like whip it up a little bit. Okay, cheers.
I love this chip.
Super good.
And the dip.
Yeah, the dip's pretty good.
Do you want me to talk about it or? Okay.
Yeah, talk about it. I'm just gonna whip this up.
Yeah, the chip is awesome. It's got an onion flavor mostly, and then a chip just feel. It is like a light crisp, almost like a crisp, and I love those. Oh, I'm really enjoying it. Are these different sets of chips? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
The dip came out pretty good. I wish there was a little bit more flavor going on.
The dip is good too, but yeah, it's missing something. But it's a nice dip. It's very delicate too.
More salt.
It's totally good. Maybe some like mushroom seasoning.
There's MSG in it.
I don't know what it is then. I don't know.
I didn't use enough. Okay, so try these real quick without the dip.
It does have a seasoning to it.
Yeah.
You can see it, but what is it? Parsley. It's really good. The chip adds to the dip, the onion and the parsley.
And then these didn't come out as good. I might have made them too thin, but this is really all proof of concept. They're supposed to be a little cheesy.
That's what I was gonna guess. It's kind of like a little like Asiago cheese type of chip.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love all of these chips. Like, make them in all different flavors. Go crazy.
So, I mean, all in all, this is a pretty good recipe. There's no oil. I don't know if oil would have made it any better.
I don't think so. I mean, these are good.
They're already good how they are.
Yeah, so they don't need to be better. I'm not like looking for something to make them better.
Yeah, I dig them. We're eating all of these.
Dinner.
Yeah, dinner. This is dinner. No.
I really like this middle one with the extra like parsley flavor.
Yeah, the parsley with a little garlic powder really made a difference.
Yeah, this one's good. It's the specialty item one.
But the plain and the parsley are my favorite for sure.
Really good.
A little piece of parsley on it. And the dip really isn't that bad. Add a little extra salt and some
The dip
parsley.
is good. It's just it's missing something. It's not bad. No one said it was bad.
Boom.